Music in the 2020s comes and goes very quickly, and even some top 10 hits are not built to last, being forgotten in just a couple of months. In this video, we'll look at 8 of the biggest top 10 hits in the 2020s nobody remembers. Jolene by Beyonce. When Beyonce announced her reinterpretation of Dolly Parton's country classic Jolene, the hype was immediate, being featured on her venture into country. With her latest album Cowboy Carter, critics expected it to become a bold era-defining hit. The song debuted strong, riding the momentum it shot straight into the Billboard Hot 100's top 10, peaking at number 7. For a moment, it seemed destined to be a huge hit, but the track was met with mixed reactions. Many fans thought you shouldn't touch the original, and the risk Beyonce took didn't seem to work out. Instead of being celebrated as a modern reinvention, Beyonce's Jolene quickly became a polarizing talking point, overshadowed by other tracks from the album. Despite its top 10 debut, the song faded quickly from the charts and couldn't keep up on streaming, not even reaching 100 million Spotify streams to this day. Beyonce's version of Jolene is more like a "oh yeah, that happened" than a defining moment. It barely left a footprint beyond its release week. This shows that even the biggest stars can have top 10 singles that chart on name recognition but fail to stand the test of time. Rumors by Lizzo featuring Cardi B. When Lizzo teamed up with Cardi B in 2021 for Rumors, the collaboration looked like a surefire smash. Both artists were fresh off their peaks, Lizzo riding the momentum of Truth Hurts and Good as Hell, while Cardi had cemented herself as a certified hitmaker with WAP and Up. The single was positioned as Lizzo's big comeback moment, accompanied by a high-budget, Greek mythology-inspired music video and heavy promotion across social media. Rumors did exactly what it was supposed to on release week, debuting at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. But almost immediately after, the song's momentum evaporated. It just didn't quite connect in the same way as Lizzo's earlier hits did. Streaming numbers plateaued, and the song dropped quickly down the charts. For a collab between 2 of the decade's most prominent female artists, its lack of staying power was surprising. As of today, it has just passed the 200 million streams mark on Spotify. In hindsight, Rumors feels like an overhyped single that didn't deliver on expectations. It failed to launch Lizzo's next big era, as About Damn Time became a much bigger hit just a year later. Rumors is rarely mentioned today, a reminder that not every top 10 hit leaves a lasting impact. Do We Have a Problem by Nicki Minaj and Lil Baby. When Nicki Minaj joined forces with Lil Baby in early 2022 for Do We Have a Problem, it was marketed as her major comeback moment. The song had cinematic visuals and a star-studded cast in his music video, and the star power of 2 of rap's biggest names at the time. It was meant to be the single that re-established Nicki's dominance on the charts after a few disappointing years. On paper, it had everything going for it. It then debuted strongly, reaching number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, narrowly missing out on the top spot. For a moment, it seemed like Nicki was back in full force, but despite the initial buzz, the song quickly lost momentum. Its production failed to stand out, and Lil Baby's presence was starting to feel tired. Within weeks, its streaming numbers plummeted, and it failed to maintain a lasting presence. It hasn't even reached 100 million Spotify streams to this day. Today, Do We Have a Problem is rarely mentioned, even when discussing Nicki's underrated singles. Instead, it became one of those rare big-name collaborations, while technically a top 3 hit, left no lasting impact. Falling Back by Drake. When Drake released Honestly Nevermind in 2022, he shocked fans by dropping a house and dance album out of nowhere. It was instantly hated, getting bad reviews. The album's opening track, Falling Back, was heavily promoted with a weird music video and debuted strong thanks to Drake's star power, ultimately peaking at number 7 in the Billboard Hot 100's top 10. On paper, it should have been another major hit, but the song is one of his worst ever. With its droning repetition, it didn't start off the album on a good note. What made the single stand out, though not in a good way, was its monotonous delivery. Across nearly 5 minutes, Drake's croons over a hazy instrumental gets boring quick. Critics were harsh, calling it one of his weakest album openers and questioning why it was seen as a flagship for the album. Even the high-profile music video, featuring Drake marrying a lot of women, had nothing to do with the lyrics of the song. It became a meme more than a musical moment, and the song has now largely been forgotten. It has only accumulated just over 100 million Spotify streams, which is very low for Drake, who had dominated the platform for years. Today, Falling Back serves as a reminder that Drake started coasting on his name alone when he got into the 2020s. The song was always going to debut high, but his quick fall off made it a rare top 10 hit that fans barely remember now. Now and Then by the Beatles. In late 2023, the Beatles shocked the music world with Now and Then, a long-lost demo by John Lennon that was completed decades later using AI to isolate his vocals. Marketed as the last Beatles song, the release carried historical weight and was embraced immediately by nostalgic fans. The single went straight into the Billboard Hot 100's top 10, peaking at number 7, proving that even half a century after their record-breaking run, the Beatles' name could still command attention. But despite all the hype surrounding its release, Now and Then faded surprisingly quickly, while the novelty of hearing a new Beatles track captured the headlines. The song itself was slow, somber, and understated. Unlike their timeless hits like Hey Jude or Let It Be, it didn't have much replay value, and the use of AI was controversial. Its impact was rooted in sentiment, even being nominated for Record of the Year at the Grammys. Looking back, Now and Then is less remembered for its music and for its story. It symbolized the Beatles' final chapter in the legendary discography, but it quickly became one of the 2020's most forgotten high-charting singles, a historic moment more than a lasting one. Bad Decisions by Benny Blanco, BTS, and Snoop Dogg. When Bad Decisions was announced in 2022, it sounded like a recipe for a guaranteed hit. Benny Blanco, one of pop's most consistent producers, teamed up with BTS, who were at the time the biggest boy band on the planet, and hip-hop icon Snoop Dogg was also there. With 3 powerhouse names involved, the single debuted to huge anticipation, and initially, it looked like it was going to be exactly that, landing in the Billboard Hot 100's top 10 and racking up millions of streams in its first week. But once the initial fan rush settled, Bad Decisions quickly lost traction. The song struggled to find staying power on playlists or radio, partly because nothing about it stood out really. Despite its playful music video and the novelty of such a crossover collaboration, it failed to resonate beyond its release week. It slid down the charts, and in just 5 weeks, it was off the Billboard Hot 100 altogether. Today, Bad Decisions is rarely discussed, even among BTS fans, and for casual listeners, it feels almost forgotten entirely. Instead of becoming a global anthem, it became a fleeting entry in the Hot 100's top 10, a hit on paper, but fading almost immediately. 7:12 p.m. by Future. Future is no stranger to success on the Billboard Hot 100 as one of the longest lasting trap artists of the past decade and one of the most reliable hitmakers. When I Never Liked You dropped in 2022, much of the attention went to Wait For You featuring Drake and Thames, which peaked at number 1, but tucked into the album was 7:12 p.m, a song that also surged into the top 10 thanks to the momentum of the album, going on to peak at number 8. For a brief moment, Future had multiple songs in the top 10 at once. The problem was that 7:12 p.m. wasn't really made to be a mainstream hit. The song was structured more like a freestyle than a radio single. While it was a bop when it was first released, it wasn't built for long-term streaming dominance. While the initial album hype died down, so did the song's visibility, as it is now sitting on 124 million Spotify streams. Now, few listeners outside of diehard Future fans would even remember that 7:12 p.m. was technically a top 10 hit. 4x4 by Travis Scott. When Travis Scott released 4x4 in January 2025, it arrived with a big rollout that seemed destined to cement his place as one of the defining hits of the year. The song had a marching band sample and high-profile premieres ranging from WWE SmackDown to the college football playoffs, released with merch bundles to help its sales, and a promise of the percentage of the revenue going to support the California wildfires. 4x4 was meant to be an event. The single's commercial debut was staggering. It entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 1, moving 167,000 copies in its first week, bolstered heavily by the bundle sales. Despite only pulling in a modest 16.2 million streams, those numbers were enough to hand Travis his 5th chart-topping single, but its success was a mirage. Just a week later, the song plummeted to number 57, marking the largest fall-off from the top spot in Billboard history. Its chart life was shockingly short, managing just 4 weeks before vanishing completely. In retrospect, 4x4 feels like one of the most manufactured number 1 hits of the decade. Despite the spectacle surrounding its release, the song failed to build any cultural footprint and was quickly overshadowed by newer singles. Just months after its release, it has already been forgotten. Which top 10 hits in the 2020s that nobody remembers did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.